from Kid Brewer Stadium in Boone, North Carolina. This is TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me, as he always does, after a Carolina game, and a lot more than that, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And AJ, what a game we just watched. I think that's the easiest thing to say about it, and obviously we're going to dissect it more here in this Three Things video. And there's so many things, my mind's racing right now. We could probably do 23 things in this one. We're going to do 3. We're going to stick to 3. And I think it has, once again, very similar to what we did last week.
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. It is. You'll see in a second. You'll see in a second why. It has to start with Drake Maye. Another big performance from him. 428 total yards, 352 passing yards, 5 total touchdowns, 4 through the air. Just another big-time performance for him. And I was down here on the field doing photo. And what made it even more impressive was just seeing up close and personal on the run with better angles than you have in the press box, and some of the throws he was able to make. Not only that, used his legs a few times, showed he can do that as well, but he's just an impressive kid. He continues to impress, and another big-time performance from Drake Maye in his first career road start in a very hostile environment.
I'm going to start with gritty. He's real gritty.
He is, yeah.
He's tough. He got popped a lot today.
He did.
He went airborne again, landed on his head. After one play, he took about 45 seconds to get up and takes the helmet off, jogs off. He's running for first downs. I thought one time, there was one time I thought that he took a hit when he shouldn't have taken a hit. It was a curious kind of play call, but I understand when they got, retroactively, I sort of understood what Phil was trying to do, where they have so much confidence in Drake that they'll go ahead and run it a couple of times and put them, we're in 3rd and 8. Well, we've got Drake.
Yeah. I mean, it's real. It's real, yeah.
He's damn good. And he's as good as anyone I've seen play quarterback here, and that's just after 2 games. He's that good.
He's really good, yeah.
And that was the conversation at halftime up in the press box, and I was having it with guys that have been around a long time, longer than me.
Saying a lot, by the way.
And where you approach them and say, he's that good, and you want to be cautious about it because, us old guys, and I'm semi-old, I guess, we really hold on to the past. We hold on to the great player from 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, and they're all like, yeah, there's not a throw he can't make. Max said today, and I asked him, I said, 2 games in, every throw is going to get where it's supposed to go. Yeah, there were a couple that didn't. He's human.
Yeah, he's young too, yeah.
He can hit every route. They cross stuff over the middle all the time now because he sees the middle, he can hit the middle, and he gets rid of the ball. And he finds guys, and he puts the ball in positions from the catch. There were a lot of balls to the outside. Kobe Pacer had a couple diving, and Brandon P. was sitting next to me in the press box, and I said, Drake throws to the outside shoulder. Like, when it first leaves his hand, you're thinking, oh, that DB might have a beat on it. But it's the outside shoulder. DB can't get there because that's that extra step. Yeah. It's exactly where it needs to be. But he is gritty. He's got leadership. He's got this sense of, if they had to score another touchdown, let's say it's tied up, let's say App converts. Yeah. And he has to score another touchdown, he could do it. If they were still playing right now, I wouldn't want to have to face Drake Maye in overtime, and I think that's why.
They went for 2, yeah.
That's why App went for it. They didn't want to have to deal with Drake.
Yeah.
Because he's as good as they come right now, certainly at North Carolina, and in this state. The state's got a really good one too, but yeah. Drake is incredibly good, and we saw him at an unreal level today in his first road game in a packed house. At times, the snap count was affected. And there was one time where there was a little bit of confusion. I think they called a timeout because I don't think they could hear the clap. He said the other night, oh, well, they'll hear the clap. Everybody hears the clap. I don't think they heard the clap. But what can you say? Yeah. He's a great football. Matt called him great today. And Mac's not a guy that throws the word great around loosely. And I agree with him. 2 games in, Drake Maye is a great college quarterback.
1.5. There's three things. I'm throwing 1.5 in here real quick, AJ. I want to just shout out to the young wide receivers. I thought they played really well. You got Josh Downs, kind of find out. I mean, I know the team knew, but as from a media perspective, find out kind of late that he's not going to play. He's not going to go. And guys stepped up. You mentioned Kobe Paysoy. He stepped up. J.J. Jones earlier. He stepped up. Bryson Nesbitt at that tight end position had a couple of touchdowns as well. So you had guys out there making plays, even throw Gavin Blackwell in there too. So that's what Carolina needed today from an offensive perspective. Yeah, 100%. And they got that, and I think that's something that needs to be talked about in some respect during this.
Follow me here. So, there's Carolina's football truck, by the way, is over there. There's stuff over here. So hopefully this isn't too bad.
This is very on brand for Tar Heel Illustrated. Because anytime we try to do a video, the whole stadium just decides to get as loud as it can.
And the Dean Dome gets really loud.
Yeah, it's just.
All right, so hear me out. Hear me out on this. So I'm sitting up there in the press box, and we were here at 9 this morning. And once the kids come out, I'm looking to see who's out there, who's not. We're taking notes and everything. And I look at the wide receiver group when they were doing their drills, when they were in full pads, and I counted 9 dudes. Only 6 are on scholarship. They had 3 walk-ons they brought with them on a road trip. Now, you're limited. You can only bring 72. They brought 3 walk-ons. None of the 3 players' names and numbers were on the flip card in the press box. And I pointed out to Mark Kimmel, I said, you got 84, you got 29, and so so there were 6 scholarship kids here in the wide receiver room available to play whose names were on the flip card. One of them's Justin Olson.
Yeah.
I don't know if Justin played or not on offense.
I don't think he played on offense.
The rest of them are teenagers.
Yeah.
And coming into this game, if you exclude Josh because he wasn't available, the wide receiver room combined had 21 receptions for 230 yards. And Olsen had 9 of those receptions a year ago for 143 yards. I say wet behind the ears, literally. Say green, literally. Pups, literally. And they were big. They came through. We talked about it a little bit coming over here in press box, and we were hanging out waiting to come in. I said these guys are really talented, and not having Josh, I didn't think that was as big a deal as people are making it out to be. Nothing against Josh, but I think these kids are really talented, and it forced them to have to step up.
Yeah.
Instead of throwing 15 times to Josh, Drake was able to spread out to these other guys. They became a much better offense today because of that. Paysoy was fantastic. We got him in the post-game press conference. He was really good. He's like, I made this catch, I made that catch, and suddenly started feeling it. Yeah. So he wasn't feeling it. He said he was anxious when the game started. And Josh pulled him aside and talked to him and stuff. But, you got to go out there and
you got to go out there and play, yeah.
You got to go out there and do it, and that's how you start to feel good about things. So kudos to that group. This almost all except for DJ Jones's touchdown, so a bunch of teenagers out there doing everything offensively. I know that there's a lot of stuff to pick at, but when you just think about that alone, goodness gracious, they're going to get really good on offense.
Yeah.
Now they got to fix the other stuff.
Yeah. Guys, sorry to pause on you there real quick. I guess we're showing our versatility a little bit, but
versatile.
Yes, we're very versatile. As you could tell when you were watching that first part, the sun just started beaming on us. Yep. So I had to go ahead and move in the shade a little bit. Now, of course, the sun's behind some clouds. So I'm sure as soon as we start going, it'll pop out again. But AJ,
the wind picked up.
Yeah, the wind picked up too, and at least it's quieted down here a little bit. I wish I had some wood to knock on. AJ, defense. Second thing I want to talk about. It wasn't pretty. I guess I can say that pretty confidently. It might be an understatement a little bit. I'm going to let you rattle some stats off here in a second about the fourth quarter alone. Because we actually, a little backstory, we were getting ready to start this take, and I looked down at my notes right here, and I had to pause it because I thought what I was reading was incorrect. Turns out it was. So this is third take right now, guys. We usually don't do that on these, which is a little unique. But AJ, defense struggled mightily. I think the ending of the game kind of summed it up in some ways. Carolina gets that onside kick. Bryson Nesbitt runs it in for a touchdown. Carolina's up by 8, 28 seconds left. And that ultimately was the wrong decision because I think it was 2 plays in about 18 seconds. App State, again, chance to win it again.
Faster than a speeding bullet.
A chance to win it. They tied the game up with a 2-point conversion. They don't do it. And I think that really summed up the defensive performance today. It was flat out bad at times, missed tackles, It looked like missed assignments, so I have to go back and watch it. I'm staring through a camera lens all day. But that's what it felt like. It was very reminiscent of kind of what we saw a majority of the year last year. It didn't really seem like anything had changed, and kind of based on what we saw here, it almost looked like, in a lot of ways, things got a little bit worse. AJ, I want to ask you this. You've covered a lot.
Very quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just comment on this.
Go ahead.
Drake Maye just told us a little while ago that when Bryson was running down the sideline, he said Mac was screaming at him to get down, get down.
You obviously saw why when that
but he was high-stepping instead.
Yeah. I want to ask you this, AJ. You've covered a lot of Carolina games in your day. I think for me personally, definitely in terms of a game I've been on the field, that's the worst defensive display I've ever seen from North Carolina. But AJ, for you, where does that rank in just poor defensive displays from North Carolina?
Let's throw the numbers first, okay? Because actually there's a way to break this down. Remember last year, Bateman's defense had those 2-quarter stretches in which they were really good?
Yeah.
And then 2-quarter stretches in which they were horrific, but they were usually piggybacked. Mm-hmm. Here, they were horrible in the first quarter, and in 2 middle quarters, they gave up 101 yards and no points.
Yeah.
This is real.
Wild stats coming.
In the fourth quarter, App scored 6 touchdowns, scored 40 points, 338 yards, and this one here is mind-numbing. They had 18 first downs in the fourth quarter.
The 40 points
Brandon
is wild.
P's first down piece that we run Tuesday mornings, it's gonna take him a day and a half to write it.
Yeah.
That was disgusting. I mean, it was terrible. Terrible defense. It was. I'm sure that they'll be the first ones to tell you. They actually made adjustments. They were bad out of the gate. They were missing tackles. They looked like they weren't prepared. App score on its first 3 possessions, it looked they were running just scripted offense that you do Friday the day before. You just kind of run through the script, basically. Run through the plan. That's what it looked like. And they were putting different player groupings out there, especially in the secondary.
Yeah.
And they continued. They did that again in the fourth quarter, I noticed, and we'll talk to Gene on Monday, just kind of get a little more better understanding about that. Perhaps it's just trying to find guys to make plays because they weren't. But the fourth quarter, that's as bad defensively as I've ever seen a college football team play in a quarter.
I can't really disagree with that.
Now, I've covered some crazy.
Bad.
In 2012, and we were starting to talk about the combined record for points at a Carolina game, and this was it. What was it, 65, 63?
63-61.
63, yeah, whatever. 63. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, James Worthy versus Patrick Ewing in the 1982 National Championship game outscored this game by 1 point.
That's all you need to know. 3 things over, right?
So I covered in 2012, in Larry Fedora's first year, I covered Georgia Tech 68, Carolina 50 at Kenan Stadium.
Yep.
I was at Fox Sports at the time. So 2 weeks later, I was in Death Valley. I did NC State and Clemson. It was 63-47.
Just shootouts, man.
What am I doing? What am I doing to deserve this garbage? Because I do think games like this, every once in a while, it could be fun, but I want to see balanced football.
I'd love to see a defensive struggle.
And that didn't exist today. So, yeah, the defense was awful in the fourth quarter. It's the worst I've ever seen in a college game. But you know what, though? They made a play on the conversion.
Yeah.
They made a play. And as Max said, you can grow from winning. And they made a play to win the game, basically. And there's something to say about that. Cedric Gray said they didn't quit. I asked Mac, and I prefaced it by saying this might not be the right question to ask, but I'll ask it anyway. Was there a sense of helplessness in the fourth quarter? Because it didn't matter what they were rotating guys in like crazy.
Yeah, nothing mattered.
It didn't matter what they did. It was video game. It was Chase Bryce and that Noel kid, all of them in a video game. There was nothing Carolina could do, and he said no. I thought we were going to get a tip ball. I thought we were going to make a tackle. I thought we were going to get a third down stop and get off the field. That's coaches. That's why he's a Hall of Famer. That's why I'm standing on camera right now talking with Jacob.
Yeah.
So it did seem to me like there would be a sense of helplessness, but I don't view it through their lens. But from a guy covering the game, I could tell you right now, after Nesbitt scored, all of us in the press box said, App's going to score.
100%, yeah.
All of us said they were going to score. Zero faith in Carolina's defense because it did nothing to engender any faith. Now, and we're segueing here in a second. I don't want to do it just yet.
Yeah.
They still won the game.
Yeah.
So there's a ton to clean up, as you guys know.
A lot.
A ton to clean up. And tomorrow's not going to be a fun day in the defensive rooms. But they can clean it up after a win. They're 2-0. They won on the road. That streak's gone. Mac was happy that we don't have to talk about that anymore. They're 2-0. So the only stat that really matters is what's in the win-loss column. They got 2 in the win column. Doesn't matter. You tuck it in and you go. He gave the example of when he was at Texas, they beat Baylor 58-54 one time, and that was a really good Texas team. You just survive. Stuff happens sometimes. You survive it, you move on. Next week, it's 0-0 when they kick off at Georgia State. Who knows what will be when the game ends, because they weren't very good defensively last week, and they were awful for the most part today. So, yeah, that's the worst I've ever seen. The fourth quarter is the worst I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to pile on the kids.
No.
Because they, to their credit, you don't make that play at the end of regulation if you've lost yourself. They kept themselves. They kept focused. They kept believing. They like, all we got to do is make one play, guys. And they did it. So.
Yeah, call it how you see it. Like I said, it's no knock on the kids or the coaches or anything. It's just we can't sit here and say, well, Carolina was all right on defense today. They weren't.
664 yards, 37 first downs.
I mean, App State had more yards than Carolina did today, and somehow Carolina found a way to win. And AJ, that's the last thing I want to hit on real quick.
I have to write about it.
Yes, no kidding.
And I'm like, okay, where the heck am I going?
Last thing, guys.
I'll figure it out eventually.
You've already hit on it a little bit. Carolina found a way to win. I tweeted it, I think, once, I believe it was after the first 2-point conversion failed, funny enough, and then App State has a whole nother chance to tie the game after that. But if you're Carolina, you get to the locker room, you get on the bus, and you get the heck out of town. Did you deserve to win it? You outgained in yardage?
Don't ever come back.
Probably not.
Don't ever come back.
Don't ever come back. They found a way to win, though. I know Carolina fans, it's a hard thing to say because, that's all that matters, but there's a ton of things Carolina needs to clean up.
If they win every game 63-61 like this, they win the national championship.
It's a great point, too. It doesn't really matter how you do it.
Okay, and I know that sounds absurd, and in a way it is, but the point is, the objective is to win.
Yeah.
I remember I asked Larry Fedora one time after a game, they gave up like 650 yards, and they won, and he's like, the only stat I care about is what's on the scoreboard. We have more points. That's the only stat I care about. And he's right.
Sure, yeah.
When a basketball team wins 98-94, no one's talking about, boy, they didn't guard the backdoor cuts, cuts, and they didn't guard the ball screens very well. They won a game. Boy, that was fun.
Yeah.
Here, in football, we tend to be more highly critical of a defense, especially when a P5 goes to a G5 and gets shredded the way they did. Mm-hmm. But it is a win, and they're 2-0. And all of their goals are still achievable, and they have an opportunity to improve. If Gene Chizik is still a magician, and he was in 2015, if he's still a magician, he'll figure it out, because there's a lot of dudes down there, but they're not playing like dudes.
No, they're not.
Every once in a while, Power Eccles does. Every once in a while, DeAndre Boykins and Kamen Rucker do. Cedric Gray has his moments, but there's a lot of guys that can play a lot better individually, but I've got to think that a lot of it's the connection of the new stuff they're doing. Maybe there's they're trying to acclimate to the new way of communicating. And I'll tell you, there were a lot of dudes coming in and out.
Yeah, a lot of rotation.
Will Hardy looked like he was playing linebacker at times, and especially in the fourth. Well, he had a big play in the second quarter to get a stop that I thought, hey, this is key, because then they stopped scoring. Carolina went on its 4-touchdown eruption after that point. But they have an opportunity to get it figured out, and they can do it at 2-0. So I'm not reaching here, but I am kind of reaching because it's alarming when this happens. But the last time this program was 2-0 was 2019. Before that, they weren't 18, they weren't 17, they weren't 16, they weren't 15. They were in 14 because they beat Liberty and San Diego State. And that team had some issues too, but this team is far more talented in so many spots. And I think their growth potential, their stock, if you were buying North Carolina as a stock for this season, it wouldn't go for much right now, but it'd be a pretty good buy. It'd be like buying AOL in like 1993. People are like, what is AOL, right? And boom, it explodes and splits and splits. I don't know if the defense is going to be that or not. I'd be an idiot to say that they would be, but I also don't think it'd be right to say that they can't be. They got a lot of talent. They got the right guy at the helm of the defense. If they can just, like Kevin Roy said afterward, they could just be like number 50 in the country with that offense, they win a lot of games.
Win a lot of games, man. They're going to win a lot of games. AJ, 63-61. It wasn't pretty. It was downright ugly at times, but Carolina, like we just talked about, finds a way to win in Kid Brewer Stadium here in Boone. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Again, guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like below. Go ahead and head on over to TarIllustrated.com as well for all your post-game coverage from Carolina's victory. Obviously, AJ will be down, and Brandon as well, will be down in Atlanta. Georgia State game next weekend. See if Carolina can improve to 3-0 on the season. But AJ, like we said, 2-0, that's all that really matters right now, right? One pretty.
It's all that matters today. Tomorrow, when they have defensive meetings, a lot more will matter.
It will. And I would love to be a fly on the wall in that meeting. And of course, I won't be. Again, guys, I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. We appreciate you watching. Make sure you share, like, and hit that subscribe button as always. And hit that notification bell too so you know every single time we upload. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.
Thank you.